She goes, a lot of singing in this one. And I go, yeah, there was. And she goes, it's not a criticism. It's just an observation.
Welcome to Born to Watch, where three old mates, an ex-video shop owner, an industry insider, and a black belt in 80s kung fu movies put their mastery to the test on movies that changed the world.
Hey there, fellow watchers. It's that time of the week again. My favourite time, it's Born to Watch, and we are live from the Panic Room. My name is Whitey, and I'm the host, and with me tonight is the Lone Ranger, Dan on the land. How are you, mate?
Mate, yeah, a bit weird tonight. Running as a duo. We prefer to be a menage a trois, but yeah, just you and me tonight. So our thoughts with the G-Master this evening?
Absolutely. It's very sad news that the G-Man is dealing with the passing of Big Al, his dad, a great fan of the podcast, and he will be sorely missed. So Gow is on family duty, and we completely understand. We think he's wherever he is. He's up there with another huge fan of the podcast, Big Paul, and they're no doubt have already had 6 or 12 beers and abused a couple of barmaids in the time. I'm sure they're giving us a wrap from where they are. So Gow, our love goes to you and the family, and we can't wait to have you back for next episode. You're not going to be too far away.
Mate, I fucking hope so, because Whitey gave me some more tasks than I'm used to for the podcast. I don't know if you know, listeners, but I generally tend to wing it on this wonderful pod. But yeah, I actually had a task list this week, and I only read it once, but I got the guilt and asked our esteemed leader if there was anything I needed to prepare for tonight about 5 minutes ago, and he went through quite a big list. So this could go sideways pretty quick. Let's see how we go.
We are definitely dividing and conquering tonight.
I'm going to need some more beer. That's all I know.
Excellent. And it was noted last week with the musical theme of the episode, and it was questioned as to whether Dan was on the sauce. And the answer to that question every week is yes, he is.
I'm an 87% better bloke when I've got a few tins up here on the land. So yes, if you're thinking that it's Dutch curries, it always is.
Absolutely. Look, and we are keeping with the scary theme after Ghostbusters last week. With Halloween fast approaching, tonight we are doing what I can only describe as an exceptional movie and not giving away too much.
Halloween? When we were attackers, Halloween was just Carpo and me and you and Plims going out and throwing eggs at things. And now it's people go to a lot of effort out here in Australia now for Halloween.
Yeah, we seem to be taking on the American holiday in the true sense that it's supposed to be, not just an excuse to egg people you hate.
Yes, or people you like, for that matter. So
just egg anyone.
Yeah, that's it. No, it was very different back in our day, and our day was actually quite close to when this movie was released. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because I haven't done my bit where I say I'm on the land, and so you're it. Should we start that?
Yeah, but just hang on. Look at you. You're really running with this, having more input into this, aren't you? Look, this movie scooped the pool at 92 Oscars. It won the big four: picture, director, actor, and actress. 1991's Silence of the Lambs. Now, this movie broke the mold, started the obsession that we see now with crime investigation, CSI types of TV shows and movies. And here he goes. I have absolute distinct memories of seeing this movie. Now, Morgs, can you remember when you saw and where you saw Silence of the Lambs?
Do you know where? No, because I can't remember what I did yesterday. But no, I have no idea. When did we see it?
I know exactly when we saw it. We saw it together. Yeah. We saw it at Coleroy Cinema.
Bullshit.
Yeah, when it was released, we saw Coleroy Cinema. Roy Mustaka, I Love You, Australia. Yeah. And I distinctly remember the last scene in the dark with the night vision goggles. Remember that being probably the scariest thing I had ever seen at that time. I was 16 at the time. 1991. Yeah. There you go, giving away my age. And mate, I walked out of that just going, holy shit, what have I just watched? But it was just incredible.
God, you got a good memory. You could have held a gun at my head and asked me where I saw this movie.
Yeah, I knew it was
come close.
It was a rhetorical question. I think like last week with Ghostbusters, this movie has 100% stood the test of time. It is as good today as what it was when it was released over 30 years ago. Now, normally we'd give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back, and we've had a couple of messages, but we're going to change it up. And guys, this week we're asking for a bit of help. We'd love for you to get onto Spotify or onto Apple and rate the podcast and maybe give us a review or give us 5 stars, because it would really help the podcast to grow. So do your bit, fellow watchers, and give us a hand, because we want to take this on and make it better for all of you. So we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Now, this is normally Gow's job, so this is a bit rough. So we're going to talk a little bit about the synopsis of the movie.
I haven't told you what I've been doing on the land this week. I've been waiting all week.
I was hoping that we'd avoid this, but anyway. Dan, what have you been doing this week on the land?
Well, fellow, it's big week on the land, so I've actually been exploring alternative vocations up here on the land this week. So there's not a big ask for my my skill set that I had when I was a city boy. Living up here on the land. So I've actually been looking into what I might do to keep myself occupied and food on my children's table whilst living up here on the land, because my farming skills aren't great. So me and a friend of the pod, M Head, actually went out and we thought we'd look into what it takes to be a commercial fisherman up here, and we took out his 8-foot tinny. And took it out onto one of the many lakes up here. Beautiful up this way. There's plenty of lakes, and thought we'd become mud crabbers. So that was good. I went down the bait shop and bought a couple of whole mullet, because we're just testing. We don't, we're buying our bait at the moment. But yeah, we chucked a few pots in. We took M Head's boys as well with us, and we chucked a few lines in. I'm sure you realise where this is heading. Caught absolutely nothing. We did catch a couple of muddies that we had to chuck back because they were tiny. But we got through probably 7 or 8 tins and had a great day. So I haven't worked out how it's actually going to make us any cash yet. But yeah, I think I might be a commercial mud crabber. That might be my new vocation.
Really?
Yeah, so it's definitely in the top 3 vocations at the moment, and the first one I've put any real time into. So time will tell, but I'll keep everyone up to date with that as M Head and I look into how best to spend our time up here on the land.
Do you want my feedback on that suggestion, Dan?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think you're going to be very poor and you're going to be very skinny if you are relying on you finding mud crabs to survive.
I haven't looked into the economics of it yet and what sort of quantities you get, but getting 2 at our first go and having to throw them back, it's definitely no one's going to be paying us for that effort. But yeah, anyway, it's.
Maybe we can spend some time around the pool in the next week or so and discussing your future.
That's
what do you
coming
think?
up, isn't it? We're having a bit of an away week for Born to Watch, so that'll be fun.
It will be fun. We're heading to Bali. It's very exciting, and we shall be recording a podcast in Indonesia.
I do like it when you come on travels, because you don't come often, and so my memory bank of international travel with you is fairly limited, probably to the same pool that we're going to be heading to drink our mango daiquiris and our bintang towers. But yeah, I know the kids are very excited, and it's hopefully going to be quite relaxing. But we've actually booked internationally renowned podcast studio over there, so we will be able to bash another one out of. Are you doing another spooky October, or is that over now?
Oh, I think it'll probably be over by then, but we'll think of something we were going to do. We were going to do something, but the G-Man's not joining us, so we'll pick another movie.
Should I do my solo Fast Times at Ridgemont High part?
Or maybe you should do your solo Lost in Translation.
I'd like to do both, and I could speak with great eminence on both of those. But I actually watched Fast Times recently on a flight coming back from New Orleans, and Jesus, Phoebe Cates is a good sort.
Great sort.
I can understand why Judge Reinhold was ripping the ears off it in the bathroom.
Kevin Kline's playing well above his weight.
Oh, mate, how did he pull her? She is 21 out of 10.
Yeah, great sort.
Okay, and Jennifer Jason Leigh was actually good in that one. I know that she gets a bit of a pizzling here on the potty.
She's not a favourite.
No, but she was. I thought she was good in that. But anyway, yeah, we'll come back to that later. Fans, write to me at Born to Watch at MySpace. Blah blah blah. If you would like to see that solo Fast Times pod or anything on Lost in Translation. Otherwise, it's back to usual programming.
Righto. So let's talk about the synopsis of Silence of the Lambs, and this is from the back of the VHS cover. FBI agent Clarice Starling, Jodie Foster, is sent to interview in prison killer Dr. Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins. She hopes he might reveal information about another crazed killer known only as Buffalo Bill, who is abducting young women, starving them, and then killing them. Lecter's brilliant mind is intrigued by the beautiful Starling, and he begins giving her mystifying clues which could be helpful or merely a game. The terror builds as Buffalo Bill grabs another victim, and the countdown to death begins again. Finding the madman means Starling must get inside Lecter's mind to stop the killer. She must enter a terrifying race against death. It's pretty good.
Is she a great big fat girl?
I was wondering how long it'd take for the Buffalo Bills to come out.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck
I'd
me.
fuck me. I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me
Ted
hard.
Levine, wowzers. So yeah, we'll get into them. So what? Back to sorry, you mentioned VHS cover. Did you make a bit of freight out of this back at the video store? Was it obviously a long time after release date for you?
100%. It was still a favourite. I had it it was in the staff choices. It was a matte pick.
Yeah.
So lots of my legion of fans would return to Silence of the Lambs quite often. It did quite well. Most of the Oscar movies did quite well. It was quite hoity-toity up there at Avalon. They thought they were a bit special. But love to Avalon. But it did well.
What about Manhunter? Because obviously that preceded Silence of the Lambs. So I, in preparation for this pod, actually put in some effort and thought I'd watch Manhunter previously, which is a Michael Mann joint, which is it focuses more on Will Graham, who features in other Hannibal and adaptations, which I'm sure we'll talk about the TV series and everything a bit later. But very, very different movie. And there's a couple of things I was struck with, but Brian Cox versus Anthony Hopkins as Lecter was poor old Brian Cox. He was Hannibal in Manhunter. And it wasn't a bad performance, but he just gets blown off the screen by 24 minutes of time that Anthony Hopkins actually has in Silence of the Lambs. But it's a really stylish film, Manhunter, and it was a box office flop and not renowned for Michael Mann. But on the rewatch, it's an excellent film in its own right.
Yeah, no, I love Manhunter. It's great. I actually started watching it the other night and then realised I should probably be watching Silence of the Lambs. But it is great. But I guess this movie also spurned the direct sequel, which was written by Thomas Harris again, Hannibal, which starring Anthony Hopkins. But
is that the one when he's in Italy? He's the curator of the museum. Yeah,
correct.
And he's got the dude that it's Gary Oldman that eats his own face off.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. No, so I enjoyed that flick.
But Jodie Foster famously refused to come back.
That's right. And Julianne Moore,
Clarice Starling. Jodie Foster thought it was too violent, and it's also the scene which turned it over for her was when Anthony Hopkins make Ray Liotta eat his own brain. So he's flaying his brain as he sits at the dinner table and sautés it and cooks it and makes Paul Krendler, who's Ray Liotta, eat his own brain. So that was the scene where Jodie Foster said, "I'm out," and Julianne Moore said, "That's fine, I'm in." And she did a pretty good job, but she was
great.
But she's no Jodie Foster. There's no doubt. So also Red Dragon and as you said before, Morgs, the TV series Hannibal, which I think is excellent.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen and Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, I agree. I didn't quite complete that. I got up to the penultimate few episodes and let it go, unfortunately. And they didn't renew the series after, I think it was 2 seasons. So, but I thought Mads Mikkelsen actually couldn't speak much English when he took that part. So it was amazing that he was able to bring that character to life with not speaking the language particularly well.
It's actually it's really worth watching. It's actually
completely different. The style and tone and everything is very, very different, but really good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It actually does work its way to a finale, which is excellent. It's really worth a watch. It's a completely different take, but Mads Mikkelsen is, I'm not going to say as good as Anthony Hopkins, but he's pretty damn close. And Hugh Dancy, who plays Will Graham, is great. It's actually a really good cast. It's excellent, actually. It's really well done.
Yeah,
it's well worth a watch.
Worth a look, Born to Watchers. Get into it.
Definitely. Let's listen to the trailer.
You spook easily, Starling?
Not yet, sir.
He's past the others. The last cell. I'll be watching. You'll do fine. A killer is on the loose.
Keeps him alive for 3 days,
Then he shoots them, skins them, and dumps them.
A rookie FBI agent is on his trail.
He's got real physical strength, cautious, precise, and he's never impulsive. He'll never stop.
But in order to track him down, she'll have to match wits.
I'll help you catch him, Clarice. Believe me, you don't want Hannibal Lecter inside your head.
With the darkest of all minds.
Just do your job, but never forget what he is. But he's a monster. Pure psychopath. So rare to capture one alive. So close to the way you're going to catch him. Do you realize that? Oh, Clarice, your problem is you need to get more fun out of life.
You told me you don't spook easily.
You call this easy, sir?
Lecter's missing hand arm. Man's a raving maniac. Who knows what he'll do?
Thank you, Clarice. Thank you.
Another 80s trailer full of somber tones and very scary. It does the movie justice.
There's a
Very
bit of
well done.
padding in that trailer. I noticed. There's there's a few musical interludes that just go on. So I don't know how good it would have gone on the radio.
Yeah, not ideal, but
No.
we're being told do not lose the trailers, and we're keeping them in. We got to
Yeah.
listen to
Johnny Bull. That's for you.
Got to listen
brother.
to the fans. Also, Jess says she's a big fan of the trailer. So
Oh,
thank you, Jess, for your
wait! Did
feedback.
you
Yes.
did you hear back from Goobs? Did he tell you what how was it?
No, I haven't heard back yet. I forgot to ring him. He had rung me, but I forgot to ring him back. I've been very busy
Oh,
trying to steer this ship in the right direction.
yeah,
without my
fair
law
enough.
number 2.
What
But I shall
about
give him a call. We'll know more for the next episode.
any other feedback though from the fans? It's been
We've had a bit of feedback. A couple of people saying that they really enjoyed the amount of singing that happened in the last episode.
I did too. I think
yeah,
that should become a new segment.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do a musical episode where we sing the whole thing.
I think that's a great idea.
Why not?
Why
not?
A bit like La La Land for Born to Watch.
Absolutely. It's something like that, Dan. Something like that.
Well, I remind me of Gosling, so I think it could work quite well.
Yeah, you're a gosler. Don't worry about that. Okay, so let's talk about how this movie rates on IMDb. This is 8.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh again, 95% on the tomato meter, and 95% audience score as Daniel just gets delivered his dinner.
It's going to
Look,
be harder for me to chew now when I can't bludge while you two do all the work.
Absolutely. Look, this is a movie that really changed the world. Released in 1991, there is no doubt that this was one of the best movies released at the time. And we'll talk a bit about the box office. This movie was an absolute success. We look at the worldwide box office. This turned over about $131 million, which at that time was massive. Do you want to know what the top 5 is for that year, Dan?
Go, give it to me.
Okay, and this is worldwide. This isn't just the domestic US. So Beauty and the Beast, number 1. Worldwide
Really?
box office of $248 million. Terminator 2, $204 million.
That I can understand, yeah.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, give me a break.
Yep.
Kevin Costner?
Yep. And Morgan Freeman,
shit.
Christian
Oh,
Slater,
God. Oh, God.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio,
Oh, God.
and Bryan Adams doing the soundtrack.
Well, I've got some stats on him a bit later. But yeah, keep going.
Absolutely. 165 million, and then Silence of the Lambs at 130.
Wow.
Some other great movies that were released. City Slickers was number 5 with 124, but some great movies. Naked Gun 2.5, Cape Fear, another Born to Watch, a Backdraft, one of my long-time favourites and a go-to, JFK.
Oh, good flick.
Mate,
Long flick. Long flick.
Yeah, long
Yeah.
flick. Last Boy Scout, Boys in the Hood, My Girl, which we mentioned last week.
Yep. Anna Chumley.
Absolutely. New Jack City.
Oh, yeah. Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thelma and Louise.
Oh, goodness. Brad Pitt. Susan Sarandon. Yeah.
Point Break.
Oh, excellent. God, Point Break's a great flick.
Yeah, we're hanging
Give
on
me
for
2
Phelpsy
meatball
to do that one.
sandwiches.
Out for Justice.
Oh, Steven
Mate,
Seagal.
Yeah, great. The
Yeah.
Doors.
Oh yeah, Val. Love Val.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It's a really good. The Hard Way. That was one of Damo's. He talked to us about the Frog Dogs the other week in the Avatar
Was that
pod.
Jean-Claude Van Damme? The Hard Way?
No, the Hard Way is the one with Michael J. Fox and James Woods.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, vaguely remember it. Yeah.
FX2.
Brian Brown.
Great. It's so
Brian
good.
Denny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Toy Soldiers.
Oh, God. Short Aston.
The Commitments.
Oh, Commitments was a thing back in 91, wasn't it?
Mate,
Like that soundtrack, everyone had it on CD.
Oh, I loved it. Loved the Commitment soundtrack. The lead singer, the big guy, what's his name? Andrew something, was Andrew Strong. I think his name was Andrew Strong. It was just incredible voice. Incredible voice. So a lot of good movies out in 91. And it's just one of those years. And again, we talk about 86, but they just keep coming out with these banging years. And it's probably not until the 2000s when stuff gets to a little bit thin. I reckon from 80 all the way up to nearly 99, which is quite commonly known as the greatest year in cinema. I don't agree. I think that anything from sort of 86 to 92 is just as good. But anyway, we'll get to 99 and we'll probably get to those other years at some stage as well.
It's hard to argue, but I did a bit of looking into 91 too, and I really enjoyed all the singing last week. So you touched on Bryan Adams, so that fucking film about Robin Hood. So it was a bit of a cultural phenomenon at the time. But number one singles in Australia, because this is an Australian podcast, so
go for it, love it.
It'll kind of mirror what happened in the rest of the world. But yeah, of course, number one was Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you, from the Robin Hood soundtrack. So
there's no love like your love, and no other could give more love.
Do you know, he was so appalled by himself after that song that he gave up music and became a photographer. That's true, kids. Yeah. So, yeah,
that's amazing.
Shit. But it's a really mixed bag, 91.
But hang on a minute. He actually did a worse song for Three Musketeers, that one, All for One, where it's Bryan Adams, Sting, Rod Stewart. Yeah, that's it. The one you love is the one you want. The one you need.
Was he the Alan Thicke of movie soundtracks instead?
Quite possibly.
So not for TV.
On that song, All for One, they all sang their parts in separate parts of the world, and it was just mixed in a studio. So they were never together. Yeah.
Wow. So but they hit their three-part harmonies. Gow could have told us all about three-part harmonies, but
absolutely, and that's just a bit about how the sausage is made that you find out when you want to watch.
But yeah, let take a look back at 91. It's just, my read is that it's all over the fucking shop. So a favourite of mine at the time and a friend of the podcast, Nick Torpy. So the number 2 single in Australia in 1991 was actually an EP, and it was by Rat Cat, and it was the Tingles EP. So we all had that. So they told me I will love you. I will love bad news. Yeah. So anyway, wow. But then it gets a bit shit after that. So Grease Megamix was actually the number 3. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John, and stop being a weird cunt, John Travolta. But number 4, a big favourite of every red-blooded Australian female and male. Our mate Darryl Braithwaite, big friend of the podcast, with the horses. That was actually that was a 1991 jam. I didn't realize that until looking into that. But yeah, it's all like, this is so strange. It's all like You Could Be Mine, Guns N' Roses. So,
I think that's almost my favourite Guns N' Roses song.
It's pretty good, obviously for the Terminator 2 soundtrack as well. Yeah. But then it gets a bit weird. Read My Lips by Melissa.
Melissa Couts.
That's it, to count. Silent TNK, I think. Melissa Counts. And then Say That I Love You.
More Than Words.
Not the words. Extreme. Yeah. Nino Bettencourt.
Yeah. Gary Chironi.
This one's pretty good. I've been thinking about you. London Beat.
Is that London Beat?
Yes, London Beat. Then,
I've been thinking about you.
Then there's a couple. Roxette, Joyride. I mean, it's the Shoot song. Sure. Unforgettable.
Hang on.
Natalie Cole and her dad. Yeah.
Which one's Sure? Is it the
The
one
Shoot
Turn
Shoot
Back Time?
song.
Oh,
It's
okay.
in his Kiss.
Right. Yes. That's from Mermaids. This is
That's
the movie
it.
Mermaids.
Right said Fred, I'm too sexy. They're arguing.
God.
They've got beef with Beyonce at the moment. My daughters were telling me there's something going on with
Right
Beyonce.
said Fred, do.
Yeah, I think she sampled Maybe I'm Too Sexy, and they obviously, you have to give permission these days to sample everything, but to get a bit of press for themselves, they tried to say that they didn't give Beyonce permission, and she just went, please. Yeah. Martika, love.
Oh,
Thy will be done.
Yeah, nice.
Oh my God.
I think
Divinals.
her better song was Toy Soldiers.
Yeah, I was just thinking I do.
Step by step, heart to heart, left, right, left, we all fall down
like
toy
toy
soldiers.
soldiers. I touched myself to Divinals. Big Audio Dynamite 2. It's just a weird year with lots of weird ass pop. But number 20, I wanted to bring you back, and we'll wind it up here, kids, because I could do this all day. But number 20 was by a little band out of Newcastle that was particularly fond of a young Matt White and Dan Morgan, and
Screaming Jets.
we actually performed this song at Assembly at
some of us
Cromer
did.
High. Yeah.
Some of us
So picture this: we had a band called Vomit back in the day, and Matt was the lead singer, and I was the bass player.
Moody bassist.
I was the moody bassist, and we actually we somehow convinced our esteemed principal Jerry the Pisshead to let us go up and play that on Assembly. And so the first time in history I've actually seen Matt White lose confidence, and he decided that he wasn't up for it in singing in front of 1,000 people a Screaming Jets song called Better. Which,
still don't know what happened when you knocked upon my door.
You would have crushed it if you didn't bottle it. But
you had the life you lived, all the dreams you had before.
What was humorous about that is that we didn't think that the lack of a vocalist and lead singer was a reason not to do the performance. So me and Nunzi and Clint and Andy Tomo decided, fuck it, well, we're still going to play. We'll just do it as an instrumental. And it's a good track, but what makes it good is Dave Gleason screaming out the vocals to Better, not for suspect musicians playing acoustic style with the only lyrics you hear from the bassist going 2, 3, 4 about 4 minutes into the song. So, anyway,
look, Dan, thanks for bringing that up. I'm still sort of recovering from that. The PTSD runs deep. I'm not proud of that moment, and my sincerest apologies go out to yourself and to Nunzi, to Clit, and to Andy Tomo. I let you down, and it's been my cross to bear for 31 years. For 31 years, I can't believe I didn't have the balls to go through with that.
Yeah, it was a piss weak effort, but we'll get over it soon. But other than that, I could go on with music for forever, but it was just definitely a mixed bag. But as far as what else was going on in the world, just some highlights. The USSR split up for the first time, so the Cold War ended for the first time since 1947 in 1991. Obviously, Mr. Putin's been a bit of a fucktard at the moment and ramping that shit back up. But yeah, it was Boris Yeltsin was definitely bringing, if not democracy, then certainly a populist vote to the Socialist Republic back then.
Was Scorpions was Winds of Change 91?
Excellent question, Matthew. Excellent question. It was.
You can't answer it though, can you?
No, it was. It was in fact 1991. Yeah.
Oh,
and it was based on the events that were happening at the time. I mean, Operation Desert Storm. They went out to take old mate Saddam out, and obviously creating a lot of great content off the back of that. So what's that David Simon jam that we love that
The
I
Wire?
watch all the time? No.
Sorry.
Generation Kill.
Generation Kill.
Fellow F-wits, if you do one thing this weekend, just get Generation Kill out and watch. It's about 8 episodes. It is fucking fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's all about the original Desert Storm and just how dysfunctional the war machine is that is the United States military, and just how the hell they actually go about things. I mean, it's literally just it's a shotgun blast when you need a pea shooter essentially. So
there's a really
great story.
Just on the Scorpions, there's a really good podcast which I will put a link in the show notes about how the Scorpions were funded by the CIA and actually with the CIA wrote Wings of Change, And
Awesome.
and it's a great podcast. And look, it's probably bullshit, but I tell you what, it's for conspiracy theorists out there. It's a fucking good podcast.
Mate, and a fucking good song.
Great song. And
Great
again,
song.
couldn't speak a lick of English and just crushed it.
What else were we doing in 91? Pardon me. So we've talked a bit about our starring roles in Little Shop of Horrors, the musicals. So other than that, we were playing some fairly decent basketball there in under 16s or under 17s.
Yep. I had a good year of footy, good year in under 16s of
That's
footy,
right.
successful year for me.
You made the Aussies with your best mate. That was exciting times.
It's probably the last time that I spoke to him, but anyway, moving on.
I don't know. Year 11, Cromer High School. So life was pretty easy fucking peasy, if I remember it.
No, we wagged school to go and see Terminator 2, which I'm sure we'll talk about it on the T2 pod.
Yeah,
We're going
to have to get Sonny Payne. I'm living on his land, and he is so keen to jump into the booth. The guy's seen that movie 1,500 times.
He does.
Yeah, so
he'll be in. He's going to be our guest. He's going to be our guest in the studio for T2. We might even be able to get you down here for T2, Dan. What do you reckon?
I'll come down to the Panic Room. Me and Sonny can come down from his land. That sounds good. The other one he's desperate to do is Predator, so we'll have to talk about that at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we could talk forever.
91 was a fantastic year. Lots of going on. Great music, great world events, great Cromer High School shenanigans. Yeah, bring it.
Yeah, good year. Look, let's move into the cast. Jodie Foster, starring as Clarice Starling, won the Academy Award for Best Actress at the time, but would now be Best Actor in a female role.
But she wasn't first choice for the role, huh?
She wasn't, no. Meg Ryan, Michelle Pfeiffer actually were looked at for the role, and Nicole Kidman actually read for the role as well. But there were over 300 actresses in Hollywood actually auditioned for the role of Clarice Starling.
It's interesting because I couldn't. I think she crushes it and very worthy winner of the Academy Award. But Michelle Pfeiffer would have been interesting. I guess she was kind of at her zenith at that time. But Nicole Kidman, maybe, for sure. Meg Ryan is a strange choice. I don't know how she would have gone playing. I met a lot of these Clarice Starlings when I was recently in the southern United States, and certainly I did spend some time at Quantico and going through some of their training when we were in Virginia, and it's an excellent place. So
you're amazing, Dan. This is Jodie Foster's second Academy Award in 4 years. So she won for The Accused in '88.
Accused is not something you'll want to see again. But
no, it's a one watcher. It's a one watcher. And look, an interesting fact is that Jodie Foster actually tried to, and we'll probably get to this, but I'm going to spoil it now, that Jodie Foster tried to buy the rights for this, but she got pipped at the post by Gene Hackman. And
she wanted to produce it as well.
She wanted to produce it as well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So another interesting fact about Jodie Foster is that she was in a Coppertone ad when she was about 4 years of age or 3 years of age. So I remember the body lotion, I guess. The Coppertone body lotion.
Yeah.
It was essentially just vegetable oil that you rubbed on your skin to turn you into a turkey that Newman from Seinfeld would have loved to eat. And so that was one of her first gigs as a kid, as a child actor. Obviously,
how old was she in Taxi Driver? Because she was so young.
Yeah, I think she was 12 in Taxi Driver. Yeah, look, Taxi Driver is next level.
Grim.
Starring as Iris.
Grim.
Yeah, very, very grim, but it put her on the map. You know, she did some great movies after that. Freaky Friday. She's been in so much stuff. The Accused, Silence of the Lambs, Summersby, Maverick. She actually was a voice and a guest star on The X-Files. She did Contact. She did Panic Room.
What do you think of Contact?
Odd. I'm not a huge fan of Contact, and it's sort of my kind of movie.
No.
But she plays one of probably my favourite roles of her, which is of the later movie, which is where she plays Madeline White in Inside Man, the Spike Lee movie with Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
and
I
the
have
one
seen
where
that recently.
Clive Owen is hides in the bank.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
Are we gonna do Croupier on the podcast anytime soon? Do you think?
You have asked.
Who doesn't love a Clive Owen movie about him being a croupier in 90s London? Like it's just it sells itself.
Well, it does. You've got me sold, Dan. We'll just we'll check and see how the public.
I don't know that the G-Man would have seen that one.
No, and obviously this movie's a 1-2 punch, and the two leads are next level. Anthony Hopkins really asserts himself as one of the great actors of his generation, and this is really his breakout role as Hannibal Lecter. Robert Duvall was actually looked at for this role. He's actually the first choice, and he actually pulled out.
Yeah,
And
I
that
can't
sort of
see it.
cleared. Before that, though, Gene Hackman, who held the rights, was actually penned in to be Lecter until there was a director change. So this was going to be Gene Hackman as Hannibal Lecter, which, yeah, I tell you what, he's an actor. I reckon he could do it, but can you see anyone else playing Hannibal Lecter other than Anthony Hopkins?
No way. No. And having been able to compare a couple of Hannibals, so obviously Mads Mikkelsen in the TV show, Brian Cox in Manhunter, he's on another plane. Like it would be very difficult. And I love Gene Hackman, love what he can do, but I can't see anyone supplanting Anthony Hopkins in that role. No way.
No, he's amazing, and look, I guess he became known as when he was Dr. Frederick Travers in The Elephant Man in 1980, but it really wasn't until 91 when he really broke in with Silence of the Lambs, and after that he became the jobber's jobber.
Yeah,
he's in hundreds of movies. He played.
Is it The Two Popes? Have you seen that recently?
No, I haven't seen The Two Popes actually at all.
Fantastic.
I need to watch it.
Yeah. Fellow F-Wits, you've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, Netflix movie came out a while back. I didn't know a lot about the story, but there was a bit of a crossover, a bit of a weir with the Popes, and Anthony Hopkins is fantastic in it. So just brilliant movie.
But so he was in Dracula. He played Van Helsing in 92. He's in, my God, The Remains of the Day, 93. Legends of the Fall in 94, which is a favourite of mine.
Flick. Yeah,
it's like that flick? I don't mind it, but it actually goes nowhere. The movie's about nothing. It is a Brad Pitt. It's a Brad Pitt calendar shoot. Yeah, he looks amazing. He's like the most fuckable human on the planet in Legends of the Fall that's ever lived.
Yeah.
But the movie that's what it's about. They just want people to stare at Brad Pitt for 2 hours and go, oh my God, and it achieves that. But I don't know what else it achieves, but I quite enjoy it. He's played Nixon, Richard Nixon in 95. Then he was in The Edge with Al McPherson and Alec Baldwin.
What was The Edge? I don't think
The Edge is where they had the plane crash, where he goes on fishing or goes hunting with Alec Baldwin, who's banging
a really
Al
rich
McPherson.
guy.
He's a rich guy, yeah.
A rich guy, yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's in Armistead. He's in The Mask of Zorro. He's in Meet Joe Black. He's in Mission Impossible 2. He's in Hannibal. Mate, he's in Hearts and
He's jobbing.
He is jobbing. He's doing in some years, like in 2007, for instance. This is just one. There's Fracture, Slipstream, Beowulf, The Game. Like he's doing voiceovers. He's doing movies. He's sometimes doing 4 or 5 movies in a year. Like this guy jobs. He could be the jobber's jobber.
He can job.
Yeah. And then his paycheck, back end, he's a bit of a paycheck. He's obviously in Westworld, the TV series.
Yeah, did you keep up with Westworld?
I didn't get the back end. I've watched like the first 2 seasons. I didn't get to season 3 yet.
No, lost me. I just didn't invest the time necessary into it. But Plims loves it. There's definitely some fans out there.
Absolutely. But look, obviously one of the great actors of our generation, and you're going to have to go a long way to find a better character than Hannibal Lecter, and he just crushes this.
Yeah.
I don't think it works with anyone else other than him. Jack Crawford, played by Scott Glenn, Born to Watch favourite. Obviously, we talked about him in Backdraft, and he's another jobber, been a lot of stuff over the years. He does a heap of stuff in the 80s, but really the highlight for me with him is Silverado in 85, one of the great movies. Love it. Great Western. He's also in The Hunt for Red October. He's Bart Mancuso, the submarine captain. He's in Backdraft. He's in The Player. Plays himself in The Player. So you got to love that. Courage Under Fire, Absolute Power, Firestorm.
Courage Under Fire, is that Meg Ryan and Matt Damon is like the world's skinniest man?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. He's very skinny in it.
One of Matt Damon's first roles, and it was his choice. It was his choice to make him look really super smacky, and he's definitely head on the stick. He's Morgs in 93.
But then he's in The Bourne Ultimatum. He's in W. He's in Secretariat. Like he's another jobber. He really is. Bourne Legacy. It's crazy the amount of movies this guy's in. He's had a great career. I love him in everything he's in. He's distinct. He's a quality actor.
And of course, the very easy 1 Degree of Kurt Russell this
Yes.
week
Yes, well
plays
done.
his plays the axe in Backdraft. So I don't know. It's been pretty easy, this 1 Degree of Kurt
Look,
Russell so far.
Ghostbusters was the only one we've had some real problems with, and we still admit. I had someone come out and say, "Is it Larry King?" because he interviewed him, and no, that doesn't count. At all.
I would have said it counted.
Yeah, no, didn't count. So anyway, we move on to Big Fat Girl, Jamie Gumb, Buffalo Bill,
Ted Levine.
Ted Levine. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure that this movie did him any justice because he hasn't done a heap of stuff afterwards. I think he might have been pigeonholed as a psychopath, but he's amazing in this movie. And for the amount of time that he's in it, which is not a lot, he is excellent. One movie that I remember him of, Morgs, and it's a favourite of ours.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Oh, he was in Heat. He's one of Pacino's boys in Heat. One of the cops.
He certainly is. Certainly is.
So that's probably the only other role I really recognise him from.
Yeah.
So
He's done quite a bit of TV stuff. But mate, to be perfectly honest, not a lot. And I guess he was in American Gangster in 2007. Look, he's a jobber. He's that bit part. He's done quite a bit of TV stuff. He spent most of his time on the TV. He's in Ray Donovan.
Big favourite of Born to Watch.
Absolutely. He was, and just recently, probably more recently, he's in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, which is a pile of steaming shit. But he's in that,
wringing what they can out of that particular tent pole. So.
Yeah, definitely. But definitely spent the bulk of his career on TV. Probably couldn't get out of the shadows of Buffalo Bill, which is not surprising because he did a damn good job in that. Now we're getting thin. Now we're getting to the real bit players, but I reckon this guy almost steals the show every time he's on the screen. I am crawling, and that Anthony Heald is Dr. Frederick Chilton.
Which one? Which doctor's he?
He is the doctor.
Okay, you're right. That Hannibal has over for dinner. He's having an old friend over for dinner.
Yes, yes. So the guy in the jail or in the hospital.
He's William Atherton character, dickhead level.
Yeah,
good,
he's excellent in this movie.
Yeah,
when he's flirting with Starling at the start.
Oh God,
and she's trying to just sort of fob him off. Actually, now that I see this, there's another 1 Degree of Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
because Anthony Heald is in Silkwood.
Oh.
And Kurt Russell is in Silkwood.
It's just too easy. Kurt Russell, fuck Kevin Bacon. 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Kurt Russell is the most easy player in the degree game.
But Anthony Heald was big in TV. He spent most of his time in TV. Did some bit parts in some smaller movies before he was Dr. Frederick Chilton in 91. And then really, he's in Searching for Bobby Fischer. He's in The Pelican Brief. He's in The Client. But then spends the most of his time in TV again. He's in a Time to Kill. He's Dr. Wilbert Roadheaver.
Every Grisham adaptation.
He loves it, and he's actually in 8mm.
Oh,
he plays the
Nick
slimy.
Cage.
Yeah, he plays the slimy, the assistant to the dad who committed suicide, the old guy.
You watched that recently, didn't you?
I did watch that recently. Yeah, obviously it's worth watching. Look, you know what? Yeah. It's actually worth watching. It is not great, but it's an interesting Nick Cage performance.
Yeah,
it's worth just a little look. And then the last but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, Frankie Fires On. And it doesn't matter what else he has done. What is Frankie Fires On in, Daniel?
Is it that
Barney?
It's what?
He's Barney.
In what? In The Simpsons?
No, he's Barney in Silence of the Lambs. He's the black orderly. He's the black orderly.
Yes. What's he in? Well?
Come on, Dan. Come on. I'm going to win. This is me winning.
I think you may win this because I remember I was watching it the other night going, I know that guy.
So you rip into me about not having seen all of this TV series. He is Commissioner Irving Burrell
in The
Wire.
He is. Oh, that hurts. Sorry, Franking. He's
He's in 47 episodes of The Wire.
Yeah, damn it. I just shut the
He's
bed on
excellent. He's
that one.
excellent in it.
He's
Yeah.
yeah. I can confirm he's excellent, but yes, I'll take. I get a bad rap for not spotting that, but yes.
And it doesn't matter anything else that he's in, because that's all that matters. The
Oh,
Wire.
he will always be
Yes.
the commish there. So yeah, good work. Well played.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about Jonathan Demme, the director, who won the Academy Award for
So
directing.
dual Academy Award winning director, amazing. One for Philadelphia as well.
Yes.
And I'll
Great.
talk a bit more about it in Film School for Fuckwits, but a very unique style that's been copied a lot over the years, but was probably his use of point of view and of extreme close-up or super tight close-up is something that on the rewatch was super evident. So yeah, we'll riff on that a bit, fellow F-wits in Film School for. But I passed away recently.
Yes, he did.
But obviously just an incredible craftsman and really trusted his actors a lot. He just as far if you look at how he anyway, we'll talk more about that in Film School for F-wits. But
absolutely.
Incredible storyteller for sure.
Okay, so let's move on to question time. Daniel, is this the greatest portrayal of a serial killer that we've seen on film? Now, let me give you some other comparisons.
Go.
So we're going to have Brian Cox in Manhunter as Lecter.
Yep.
Kurt Russell as stuntman Mike in Death Proof.
Excellent.
Tobin Bell as Jigsaw in the Saw movies.
Not my thing, but yep.
Kevin Spacey, John Doe, 7.
Very, very, very good.
Andrew Robinson, Scorpio Killer, Dirty Harry.
Also excellent.
Okay, and here's one. Brian Thompson, Night Slasher, Cobra.
He's got a really interesting head, that's for sure.
Pig.
So, really, I mean, it's very, very difficult as far as iconic serial killer characters. I'd add the TV show Dexter, the first 4 seasons as well. I think Michael C. Hall, the actor there, was incredible. That was a brilliant show. American listeners, just you don't have to do 24 episodes of every season. Quality over quantity. You didn't have to wring so much out of that particular series. Dexter was awesome for the first few series, and then it just got ridiculous.
Yeah, the finale of season 4 of Dexter is almost the best episode of television I've ever seen.
Agreed.
It is
must watch.
John Lithgow plays the serial killer in that season.
Yep.
And the finale of season 4 left me breathless.
Rocked,
it was that good.
Rocked. Almost as good as the last few episodes of Breaking Bad. Would you agree?
I'll take absolutely. I'll take your word for that. So if we're leaving Michael C. Hall out because that's TV, it has to be Anthony Hopkins, doesn't it?
Oh, it's the list you've just said. Poor old Brian Cox, unfortunately, gets Hannibaled off the screen by Anthony Hopkins' performances. The other ones you mentioned, though, they are all strong performances. We laugh about Cobra, but he is definitely left with that being a very scary performance there. But have you been watching any of the Dahmer series on Netflix?
Absolutely. I've watched all of it. It's brutal. It's
amazing. Coincidentally, 1991 was when Dahmer's crimes were discovered, and they discovered the boys and men in his at his pad in 1991. But I haven't watched it yet. I'm not sure that I'll give it a run. It's horror's not never I don't know. Silence of the Lambs I would call a thriller rather than horror. It's
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely there's some spine chilling moments, but I think. It's not gory. It's not overtly use of gore and the like. It's more a thriller, I would say. But yeah, I don't know the Dahmer stuff. It's just so ridiculous.
Evan Peters, who plays Dahmer, is next level good. If he doesn't win an award for that portrayal, I'll give you the tip, Dan. I wouldn't go so far as to say that Dahmer is a horror story.
Yep.
It's that psychological thriller. There is absolutely no violence, literally no violence in the show.
Yep.
It's all after the fact. It's all just assumed violence.
Yep.
And it's the aftermath. And there's actually not a lot of gore. It's just because you know what he did. And it's just and if you then start to look at there's a lot of stuff on social media where it's the set that they used for his room against photos of his real room that the police had taken,
Oh, God.
and they have matched it down to a T. It is shocking how real it is.
Yeah.
It's well worth a look. Absolutely great miniseries on Netflix. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it under advisement. But back to your original question. No, I don't think you can beat Anthony Hopkins as the serial killer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Numero
Okay.
uno. What else you got?
Question 2. Did Jack Crawford want to bone Clarice Starling?
So this is the only issue I have, and it's not a big one with the movie. So I don't understand what their relationship was at the start. Was because they talk about the fact that she challenged him in a open forum when he was a guest lecturer and she was a student. But was that enough for him to then appoint her to go and interview Hannibal Lecter? Like it was a bit weak the way that I think they introduced their previous relationship.
So I think that what I found, and I watched really carefully this time, is that it made it quite obvious that the FBI is a boys' club.
Right.
Of
course. So there's some great scenes that show that.
So that first setup where she's running, she's on her own. She's running on her own.
Yep.
Then when you see her come into the thing, it's all men running together.
Yeah.
Right. And she's running on her own in the woods.
Yeah.
She then comes in. It's all males. There's like 2 females that she sees.
Yeah.
Then she hops into the lift. It's all males.
Yeah.
She gets out. She sees one girl who's obviously administration
Yep.
walking through the hall. Then it's all men. And so I think that what Crawford is saying is, well, she's not even the top of her class. She's in the top third of her class, but she's female. She's attractive. They're going to try a different tact with him. That's why I saw it. It's like, well,
so that was
she
all
was
it
just.
is. That was.
I reckon that's all.
Right,
That's
okay,
what I feel it is. I just think it's like
Have you read the books?
Yeah, I have read the book, and I can't really recall. There is more sexual tension in the book between Crawford and Starling. I think there is less. It feels like possibly that yes, he does want to bone her, and Hannibal makes that point at the start. But I think he's also using her as a bit of a pawn, and especially when he takes her on site when they're going to see the first body, and he's like, well, can we talk and away from her? Can we, he's using her as a bit of a diversionary, and I think that she is just the unlucky or lucky. It was her chance. She just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Okay.
That's what it seems like in the movie.
Yeah, because I thought, and I've obviously seen it many times, and I was watching out for any other clues as to why she may have been selected other than the exposition that they have throughout. And okay, that makes sense. So and I think it's really what I found really enjoyable on the rewatch too, and not a Crawford scene, but the fact that obviously Crawford, if you believe his strategy was to stick Clarice in front of Hannibal because it was something different. It's something that he would find amusing. And it's really, he's not, Hannibal's not into it at all. He's kind of decides that, no, he's not going to help until Miggsy in the incredible scene debases Clarice with the jizz flick, which is an amazing shot, by the way, and fairly northy-esque too. He had a bit going on because there's not a lot to do in those cells. I would have thought that he was knocking the head off that often and wouldn't have had such.
He'd have nothing left.
No. So definitely interesting that he was able to conjure so many swimmers to flick at it.
Well, that actually leads us into the next question.
Yeah,
is the Mig scene the most confronting scene in the movie?
It was, and rewatching it again because I was number one. I was interested in the fact that they used that as part of the plot. Was that Hannibal only was really interested again in Clarice because he was so disgusted with what Miggs did and how he insulted her. But yes, the fact that the shot is so perfect and just lands in her hair. It's confronting. It really was, and having seen it many times, the movie, it's definitely up there as a very uncomfortable scene to this day, and I think an amazing moment to include it and to have the balls.
Well, there was two things that happened there because I think it was definitely the first time that I'd heard the C-bomb dropped in a movie.
Same.
Definitely the first time I'd heard it.
Americans can't say cunt.
Yes, they can't.
Yeah, they cannot say it. Like, so, you guys, America, we love you. You're great at all sorts of things, but you can't say cunt.
I've got to say though, it's becoming more prevalent now. Like it's you've got to go a long way in most TV series and movies of a certain rating where they don't drop something similar or that. But this was definitely the first time I'd heard that. And then throw that into the next part where he's flicking his jizz onto her
Yeah.
with such perfect precision to
Oh,
get through
amazing
through the bars.
Oh, that's
into
a
a hair.
technical shot. And
Yeah, a bit on her face.
Yeah.
It was a good shot.
In the hair. Like it's,
But then my question was, and this is another question I don't have down, but she got out of there like it looked like there was nothing in her hair. Like I've seen something about Mary. There's going to be some issues with your hair afterwards. Did Barney wipe it out? Her hair was still dry? She didn't. So what did she do? Where'd it go?
I too would like to know that. Yeah, it's an unanswered question from
Yes.
from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
A fairly horrific question to pose, but yes, I think
Yes.
the only other scene that I think is comparable, and I missed it. I think in all the other viewings, but and it's only a flash. It's a tiny scene, so we know that that James Gunn, Buffalo Bill, is creating his woman suit out of the skin of these great big fat girls, and I hadn't seen the actual progress of his suit where there's he's almost done. I'd never noticed it in all the viewings until this one. And so, he did a pretty good job. But he's a featherweight, and he was. I'm not quite sure how it works where skinny little James Gunn is going to fit into this this size 14 suit that he was creating. But yeah, he did a good job. It was there was quite a bit of bush I noticed as well. So that was his preference. It probably was the last sort of hurrah for pubes. 1991, I think. After that,
I think it still had a good decade left. Pubes still had a good decade.
I don't
think it was until the noughties until the pubes became
2001, 2002. It definitely was not something that carried on in female anatomy. But that was the only other scene where I, oh god, yeah, that's pretty grim. So, but I think I agree. I think I have to give it to Miggsy. That was and Miggsy's obviously been very fond of us over many years. We've called a great friend of ours, good friend of the. Of the pod, Diggs the Miggs, has been so called since 1991.
Yes.
So it's
sometimes not received very well.
No,
but it's when you don't have a nickname that you have to be concerned. When you got a nickname, it's cool. It's when you don't have a nickname. It's when you're known as it's when you're known as Daniel or Matthew. That's when you got a problem, right?
I hate that guy.
All right. Okay, so let's move into the categories. We're here: the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll talk about some of the stuff that we think is good in the movie, some of the stuff we think is bad, and anything that's downright ugly. Dan, what do you got for good?
Good. I mean, we'll keep it pretty brief tonight, but good for me was just there was no weak spots in this movie. So the more we revisit movies over the course of this podcast, it's awesome. And as a group, we all get to check them out and then chat about them and then hear your thoughts on the line and via MySpace and everywhere else we communicate with you, you pair lickers. But I just found that there was nothing in this movie that I would take out. There was no real embellishment that wasn't necessary, that didn't drive the plot forward, that it's a real crisp, tight movie, and I thought that was great. So it's obviously been lauded. It was the first of only one of only three films to win that many Academy Awards in those particular categories. So it's fair to say that it critically it was highly acclaimed. But yeah, that was what struck me about it on this watch was just the fact that it was a very taut script, excellent way, and I think Jonathan Demme was just incredible what he was able to do with what must have been a tough shoot. And again, talk a bit more about it in film school for FWITs. But yeah, Jonathan Demme definitely brings a lot of style to the film that I think it goes a long way to why it was so well received.
Absolutely. Look, for me, the movie's a masterpiece. Like it is. It's a perfect film. Again, there's no fat you can trim. I think the two leads are amazing. Obviously, it goes without saying, but I think it's also like Chilton and Jamie Gunn. I think they're great as well. Like they fill it out. Again, no bad performances at all. But for me, the final reveal, the edit at the end with the ringing of the bell, the door at Clarice at the door. You think she's at a different house.
Wasn't
she
that
rings
fantastic?
The bell.
Yeah.
It's you still don't know until the door opens.
How
that
clever.
Mate, it is brilliant. It is, and then just that knowing, before she knows that she's in trouble here. but she's quick, man. She realizes pretty quickly that she's in up to her neck.
So
And just that.
I've seen this movie many, many, many times, and I'm still not clear on how she got there when they had the wrong address. So it was she was checking out the seamstress that died.
Yes.
Is that's
Yes.
the and it just
Yes.
so happened coincidentally that James Gumb had killed her and taken
Yes.
over the house. So that was
Yes.
right. Okay, brilliant. All right.
Yeah.
So it's always been a bit of a mystery as but no, I totally agree that dual setup.
So she's in the seamstress is in the bath.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh god,
Yeah.
that was awful. So yes. No.
One of the great
excellent.
edits. One of the great edits in
Agreed,
film
agreed,
history. Right.
agreed.
It is so well done. It's
You just
and then obviously the tension that builds for that last 15 to 20 minutes, and then obviously culminating with the night goggles, which is still burned into my memory today.
yes.
From when I saw it in the cinema. It never loses any of its punch.
Was it a
It's
full
just
cinema
incredible.
when we saw it?
Full cinema, yeah.
I
It was
zero recollection.
I know you'd have no idea. It was a full cinema. We were sitting up the back row, full cinema.
Yep.
Everyone just walked out, was blown away.
Yeah.
It just didn't. That last 20 minutes is incredible. Look, for the bad, I've got one thing.
Go.
The title sequence looks like a 6-year-old did it.
I've got exactly the same thing. And that really struck out because you know what? I mean, let's say we were to do a film like Seven some other time on the podcast. I don't know,
Yes.
it could be any time. But
Yeah.
if you compare David Fincher's credit sequence to what the fuck was going on with this one, like literally it would look like it was done with Poscas. It was awful.
Yeah, absolutely. All I thought was someone's just got like thick bold font, put a white outline around it, and we've already spent all the money on somewhere else, and we just need to do this at the 11th hour.
It made no sense stylistically, or it didn't. It seemed removed from what else they were trying to do with the film. So
Yeah, it just seems like it's bare bones. I don't know whether and look, it's a real nitpick, but it does take away from it. And when you talk about David Fincher, like he then ups the game again for Girl in the Dragon Tattoo, which I think is the greatest opening total sequence in the history of film.
Yeah,
it's just phenomenal.
We'll look into that. We'll look into that, fellow F-wits in future pods. But I think that's a strong call and hard to argue.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, anything for ugly, Daniel?
No, I even back to good. I like the fact that I didn't have mobile phones. Like it was just it was this point in time where you just like Clarice was up shit creek. She couldn't just reach into her pocket and grab her Pixel 6 and call for backup. Like she was in all sorts of bother. And the fact that she was speaking to Jack Starling when he's up in the military aircraft via military radio to the telephones. Like it's prehistoric. Kids these days just wouldn't have a clue what we went through. But it did remind me of the fact that when we were that age, and not long after that, Gow and I went on one of our first overseas travels where we went together and we went off to Canada and Europe. But you wouldn't, because you didn't have a mobile phone and there was no internet, and you had a Telstra calling card where you would call reverse charges to your parents, but you would do that every 3 months. Not every day. So people would just go on living their lives going, oh, you haven't seen my son in a while. I wonder what he's up to. Oh, I'm sure he'll call in the next month or two. Like it was just a different time where you could do pretty much anything you want and no one had a camera phone there capturing it and sticking it on the line.
Do you think that's why if you were going to do a thriller or a horror movie, a lot of them now are done back in time?
I think,
because the mobile phone has destroyed the thriller. Because you're walking home, just take out your mobile phone and go, there's some guy following me, or 911 or 000, whatever you're going to do, and the movie's over, right? So I think that anything that's like a thriller or a horror, make it a period piece. Then at least it's a little bit more believable.
As a viewer, as an audience too, we're able to. We don't spend any time thinking, oh, she should have used her phone, or we're able to get into that space of where the director and where the story was created very quickly. So, I think it's a good point. I think it certainly makes it easier to put characters in distress and put obstacles in their way when they can't just call for a friend and get out of it really quickly. So it does make it difficult for contemporary screenwriters for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well done. That's pretty good. Oh, look, for ugly, I had Miggs because he's just ugly.
God.
But also there's a level of respect there that we must have for the shot through the bars.
Oh, mate,
Uh,
he's a genius because it's a shame that Hannibal made him swallow his own tongue and die. So yes, it was no, and just that hole, those cells. I mean, God, what a god awful place. So
very, very ugly, very ugly. Okay. On to the next one. Listen to this, Morgs. You done any research for listen to this, or should I lead off?
how about you have a crack at this one?
Okay, all right. Okay, look, the first meeting between Jodie Foster and Hannibal Lecter, so Clarice Starling, Hannibal Lecter, when Lecter is mocking her about her accent, that was an improvised line, and it really shook Jodie Foster. She didn't know what to make of it. So that whole reaction from her is real. She felt seriously self-conscious and put out, which added to the performance. And actually
Isn't it
rolls
amazing
on.
that obviously this is, there's so much money behind these productions and so much goes on into the original script, and ultimately some of this magic comes down to just the skill of an actor like Anthony Hopkins to think, actually my character would challenge this god awful accent that's being put on by Jodie Foster now. That's exactly what he would do to taunt her. So the fact that magic comes out of an improv part in a blockbuster like that, it's just incredible.
And she actually avoided him for the whole shoot because she felt uncomfortable around him.
Oh God, he's so creepy.
Yeah,
it's just
no,
brilliant.
It's full on. Look, it's and we're talking about the house.
I mean, I'm with Anthony Hopkins on this one. Her accent was pretty bad. I've spent a bit of time down in the south recently, and they don't talk like that. So
it was funny you mentioned before about the house that James Gumb has of the seamstress, but Ted Levine, that actual house was just around the corner from his high school girlfriend's house in his hometown that they filmed in.
He's definitely he's a creepy unit. He's
creepy. He's creepy. But what's with houses in America with like basements, and who has a well in their fucking house?
That's a pretty yes. Obviously, they've taken a little bit of creative license on that particular, and he wasn't the greatest upkeeper of his home, but yes,
mate, it was about 1,000 square feet under the house.
The shot where the senator's daughter is gazing up, and it's got the light on the brickwork, and she sees the fingernail and the blood.
Yes.
Oh, God, I mean, if that doesn't creep you out, then
poor Catherine.
You're not poor old Catherine, not a red-blooded human. But I agree. I think that the fact that Hopkins was able to elicit that response out of such a storied actor like Jodie Foster just speaks volumes to how talented the guy is.
Yeah. So and also look at 24, just under 25 minutes, the performance of Hopkins is the second shortest performance to win an Academy Award.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to argue that he was not a supporting actor in this, that he was a lead actor. But there's all screen time. Like it's 24, 25 minutes total.
24, 52. And actually, in terms of percentage of runtime, he is the shortest of. He's in only 21% of the film.
Right. And any idea who else was close to him?
I can tell you who was the one previous with David Niven in 1958, who was in Separate Tables, and his performance was 23 minutes and 39 seconds.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, but he was in a greater percentage of the film because it was obviously a shorter movie.
Yeah, that's it's fair. It's certainly on looking back at the film too. It's just scary how little he is as far as screen time, but how much he commands the screen when he's on it. It's amazing.
So this movie recouped its budget in its first week of release.
Wow.
Yeah, recouped its budget.
You just don't get movies like this anymore. Like there's not original content like this that can be standalone, and obviously this one spawned quite a few sequels, but to have such a unique story, it just doesn't happen now. Fuck you, Marvel.
Absolutely. Look, and we've talked earlier about Top Gun, about how the Navy latched onto Top Gun and had full support because they used it as a recruiting tool. FBI did the same thing for this movie. They
Behavioral science unit.
Yeah,
well, obviously, name checked a lot in our film The Guard. That was obviously a favourite of the Born to Watchers.
Mate, it's high up on the ladder.
God, it's definitely it's reviewed well.
Reviewed well, listened little.
Definitely, that was one. That was like Bon Jovi singing one for himself before he plays the hits. So
absolutely. And you're going to talk a little bit about the cameras, the camera angles, I'm sure, in film school.
For sure.
And I've already mentioned that Jodie Foster, after she'd read the novel, wanted to buy the rights, but Hackman had already beaten her to it. Which is pretty amazing.
And so as part of listening to this, though, Hackman was talked out of doing it by his daughter. Is that right? I remember.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. She decided that it was just too gory and something that he shouldn't be involved in. So that's why he let the rights lapse, and it was picked up by the current producing team, and Jonathan Demme obviously ultimately directed it. But yeah, that was the only reason that Hackman wasn't involved, because his daughter said,
Yeah, probably a bit of a sliding doors moment there, as Gal would say. We've done 1 Degree of Kurt Russell. That's Scott Glenn.
Yeah,
and it's also Anthony Heald for Silkwood.
Yeah.
Let's move into notable quotables. And you got anything there, Dan, or you want me to keep going?
Look, I mean, obviously, I've spoiled this, but anything that James Gumb says throughout, I just love it. Like, it's so quotable. But she great big fat girl. It's just fair. And then the scene, obviously, with Precious and Catherine at the end of the well, but it puts the lotion in the basket.
It rubs the lotion on its skin.
It rubs the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose
again. The hose again. Yeah.
I mean, we've been saying that for the last 30 years. Like, it's just such an iconic, ridiculous line of dialogue, but something that comes back to us all the time. So, and then James Gumb, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me. Like, that's disturbing. It really is.
As he's dancing with the whole sausage between the legs.
It is. And it's interesting, though. So, obviously, he's portrayed as a trans man, or portrayed as a trans character in the film. But it's interesting that they do go some way to not alienate trans people, even back in 1991, when Starling says, or Clarice says, or Jack says that it's unusual for trans people to, obviously, but it didn't want to demonize the trans community all the way back then, which I think is fantastic. And I think that was really interesting in the rewatch, that because if you put a 2022 lens on it, it would be an absolute uproar that it was demonizing a minority in the community. But I think it's handled quite well. And this guy's a fucked up unit. It doesn't matter what he's into. He just happens to identify trans in the film. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I've just got Hannibal Lecter, a census taker, once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Chianti, and who doesn't love a nice Chianti?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love just the this is early in the movie, why do you think he removes their skins, Agent Starling? Enthrall me with your acumen. It excites him. Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims. I didn't. No. You ate yours. You can pass that through now. Yeah, very good. And then I've got of course the very last line of the movie. I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Oh, fantastic!
Is very good.
And that, unfortunately, you can only get the great response out of that once. But just a brilliant line.
Very good. All right, we're at that time. A huge part of the podcast. Film school for F-wits.
Yes.
And Dan's back in.
Fellow F-wits, I've foreshadowed this throughout the whole pod just because it was really striking for me on the rewatch, and I'll make it really quick tonight. But the Jonathan Demme as the director, his style is definitely unique, and it's become a little more widely used since then. But in 1991, the use of the really tight close-up and the basically, if you think about when you rewatch this, or if you haven't rewatched it, think about all the scenes where it looks as if Hannibal and Clarice and some of the other characters are actually looking into the camera when they say their dialogue, which is really unique. And it's a use that directors use when they want to basically make the audience part of the experience. And it feels like if you think about Lecter in particular, it feels like he's delivering his lines to us as an audience. So it just makes it 72% more creepy throughout. But it also means that you have to trust your actors as a director implicitly, because if it's just their head, and if you think about movie screens, we're not watching it on our TX, our 62-inch TX or 42-inch TX. If you're watching it on a huge movie screen at Coleroy at Roy Mustaka's joint, then it's literally the entire actor's head is taking up the screen. So everything we want to learn from that moment is being conveyed by the skill of the actor and their ability to convey the emotion that the director's after. So it's a really big risk as a filmmaker to do it. And Jonathan Demme and I think it comes down a lot to the skill of the actors in this particular film, but it was really, really unique to have that level of close-up and tight headshot on the actors. And if you think about, so it's something you mightn't have come across in watching film, but there's a thing called the 180-degree line, which is basically when you look at dialogue shots to make sure that it seems realistic that the actors are actually talking to themselves. The director and the editors don't break what's called the 180-degree line, which the early filmmakers actually took a long time to discover this, and there was some pretty wonky response shots and that were used in early filmmaking before they discovered that, no, you had to actually have this as sacrosanct when you have two actors talking to each other and you don't break this 180-degree line. But Jonathan Demme goes as close to breaking the line as you possibly can without breaking it with this use of the extreme close-up or the super tight close-up. And it's, if you look at Clarice or if you look at Hopkins, especially looks as if he's looking straight down the barrel of the camera. Clarice, it looks like she's looking off to the side and actually engaging with the other actors. But it's a really disconcerting feeling as an audience to have it. But it's just comes down to skill of director, skill of actor, and trust between actor and director to use that in filmmaking. And Demme went on to use it in his other Oscar-winning film, which was Philadelphia as well, a similar technique, and kind of became, I guess, a bit of a torchbearer for that. And the centering of everything in the frame is something that has been picked up by directors and auteurs like Wes Anderson. That's a common technique in a lot of his films, where rather than composing traditionally the screen with the subject a little offset in the frame, it's actually centered, and that's something that Demme used as well. So a little bit of a nerd out tonight, but when you if you haven't rewatched it, just go back and check that when Demme does use that really tight close up. And it's something that you wouldn't have seen, especially in films from that era, and although it's become a bit more prevalent now. But again, Whitey mentioned it earlier, and I think that everyone would agree that for sheer fear, the night goggle lenses point of view shot of James Gumb at the end is just what an incredible setup. So if you're not scared for Clarice in that particular moment, and you're not a living breathing human, but again, that was quite unique for use at the time. But he just does it so masterfully. And when Buffalo Bill's actually reaching out to stroke Clarice's hair in the dark, and the absolute panic that you see on her face, like, it's just such a brilliant use of a director's skill in the art of storytelling, which really makes it, and I think goes a long way to making it the masterpiece that many people consider it.
Well done, Dan. Yeah, it's really interesting. I was just reading a thing there, just a little bit in my research before, where it's like whenever Clarice is talking to them, she's always looking off camera.
Yep.
But when they're talking to her, it's a direct shot straight on.
Yep.
So that you're only really feeling like you're seeing it from her point of view.
Yep.
You're never getting the square on shot when they're looking at her. Really clever. Like, it's the shit these people think of.
Oh, it's just, yeah.
It's just next level stuff, right?
To consider these people colleagues is just one of my great honours in life as a screenwriter myself. But no, I mean, all jokes aside, just incredible the way he's able to do that. And yeah, check it out on the rewatch. But yeah, a bit of technicality for you tonight.
Well done.
F-wits.
Like a bit of technical. Well, like a bit of technical. And one of the greatest travesties is we have to go from talking about to a guy who was at the top of his game in directing a masterpiece of a movie, talking about the way that he composes a shot. It's just utter artistry to the Stan Bush kick-ass credit song, which is the direct polar opposite of what Jonathan Demme has done in Silence of the Lambs.
Well,
this is not going to win Silence of the Lambs a 6th Academy Award. That is for certain.
Who knows?
And I'm on the block.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope it's not me because I certainly haven't used 2 minutes out of my day to write one. So I'm glad it's you. What are we talking?
I was very excited when this was going to be Gow's kick-ass credit song because it was not an easy one to write, but I didn't take very long to write it. And it's sort of a bit bastardized from a tune that's sort of in my head from somewhere else, but it riffs a bit. It's tangential, as I would say. And this song is called Lotion.
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
okay.
I guess, do you need me to intro you in, or are you just going to take it away?
Mate, please intro me.
Well, fellow F-wits, it's a great title of the pod. Let's hear it from M. White, the Stan Bush kick-ass credit song. We have Lotion.
Don't be feeling bad if you're big through the hips. There's a guy in the bushes and he's licking his lips. James Gummer's his name, but his nickname is Bill. He's gonna use skin for a suit, he's long lasting thrill. But he makes a mistake, he covers what he's seeing. Stalin's on the case, now she'll stop those lamps from screaming. With the help from a doctor with a love for human flesh. Liver Chianti, fava beans is what he does best. Apply the lotion to the skin, Bill's gonna wait till you're thin. Fingernails and walls, a shitty bucking dog. You'll be found in the river like a rotten log. Lotion, lotion, lotion. Apply the lotion or you'll get the hose.
Well done. Oh, wow. Is it fair to say you got lost in your phrasing a little there?
Absolutely.
Midway,
absolutely. Every week I do.
Yeah.
The apply the lotion to your skin is where I lost it. I was killing it. Until
it doesn't take anything away from what it was a fantastic effort. Absolutely well done. Love the lyrics, love the bridge. Thought it was fantastic. You do have a style to your Stan Bush songs, so there's definitely some common refrains that I'm starting to hear.
Yes.
But no, that was brilliant.
That's
well
fun,
played.
and that's what it's about. It's like Gow sticking with the mullet.
Oh,
he's got his thing. Look, I'm very proud. I must say that I'm very proud of. Don't be feeling bad if you're big through the hips. There's a guy in the bushes and he's licking his lips.
It was a strong opening.
Yeah, that was the start. I got the that was it. I knew I was away. And so anyway, look, very proud of that one.
Well done.
It's not one of my best, but
I
at short
disagree.
notice.
I disagree. I think lyrically it was superb. Well played.
Thank you. Okay. From one star of the show to another, let's talk about who we think is the star of Silence of the Lambs.
Well, we always forget freaking over and unders. We should do that this week. So
okay.
How many times do you reckon you've seen this? Or what's the market? Okay,
I'm going to say came out in 91. It's 31 years old. I'm comfortable in saying over and under 35.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm over 35. Well and truly.
I'd be under 35. I reckon I'm around 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good hit.
Yeah.
Damo, so that's equivalent of a Damo 1.75.
Oh, what does that guy do with his time? I mean, obviously he's got dancing and some of his other hobbies. But
he's got a lot of extracurricular activities, surfing, dancing.
That's it.
Icing his long corks.
Who only watches who picks Tremors after only seeing it 2.5 times? Like what's going on with that cat?
Well, he'd seen Avatar 5 times.
Yeah, wow.
So that's the equivalent of 100 times.
But no, I think, for 35, obviously spending a bit of time. Would you have put this on in the video store?
Yeah, this was a Saturday nighter.
Wow,
so this would go on sort of after 9 o'clock. It was definitely not in it on like a Saturday at 4 o'clock when there's kids in the shop, but definitely was watched in the video shop, which gets my numbers up.
Yes.
Some of my numbers are bloated because of video shop watches.
That's all right.
When we get to some of the bigger movies, i.e. the Star Wars original trilogy, maybe Jaws, and a couple movies like that, you're going to see some really inflated numbers because
some non-rookie numbers. I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are not rookie numbers in this racket. Okay, so star of the show, Morgs. Who you got for Silence of the Lambs?
Anthony Hopkins is unbeatable. The guy's on screen for 24 minutes and he makes the movie. I think Jodie Foster's great. I think the ensemble's very good, but unbeatable. Anthony Hopkins is the star of this. Jonathan Demme, close second.
Yeah, I agree. Can't disagree. I'm 100% with you. It's Anthony Hopkins. Everyone is great, and Jonathan Demme is amazing. But for 25 minutes, he blows us away, and it's forever will be the character that he will be remembered for. And wouldn't be at all surprised that on his headstone it says Hannibal Lecter, not Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
but
very true.
But what a performance! Okay, look, obviously we're huge fans of Silence of the Lambs. It was a movie that changed the world, and I'm proud to say that I can remember seeing it in 1991 at Colorado Cinema. And
I'm sure I had a good time
in
in 91.
I got no doubt you had. I had no doubt you had some good time. You probably had a pair of Asics on, high tops, some stonewashed jeans, and a Red Sox jacket that your dad had brought back for you. Yeah. It was your go-to uniform. Let's move into the rank bank and talk about what we're going to rate this movie. This is an interesting one.
What are the options?
Okay, so the options today, the choice is Death's Head Moths.
Death's Head Moths?
Bottles of Chianti.
Yeah.
Fava beans.
Yeah.
Human skin suits. Dangly nipple rings.
Oh, yeah, jam gum. Oh, wow.
And screaming lambs. So they were the six that I've got.
I think it's got to be fava beans. I think that's probably the most iconic.
I think it probably, that was what I was either bottles of Chianti or fava beans. Yeah. I'm happy with fava beans.
Let's go with fava beans.
Okay, so out of 5 morgues, how many fava beans are you going to be giving Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, this is an absolutely excellent movie. It's 4.5 for me every day of the week. Thoroughly enjoyed it on the rewatch. I'll watch this for the rest of my life. It's just a brilliant movie, and it's 4.5 every day of the week.
Well, this is another easy one for me because for me it's 4.5 as well. I've rated this one 9 on my little list that I have on IMDb. And it's 4.5 for me. So that's an easy one. That's 4.5 fava beans for Silence of the Lambs.
Where's that put it?
That's going to put it, just let me hit sort here on the spreadsheet. And that is going to put it, hang on a minute. We're going to start again because
you're doing so well.
No, I forgot to just forgot to do something in the spreadsheet. So
didn't Huey Keith McNobb sent you a spreadsheet? You've been using that?
No, I've got a spreadsheet. Hang on, fuck me. So at 4.5 fava beans, and got to remember that this is a duo, so we don't have the three of us in the studio, and Gal will get a chance some stage to rate Silence of the Lambs. This is equal first place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is equal first place on 4.5 fava beans, which is equal to The Thing's 4.5 flame throwers, and just above Top Gun Maverick at 4.33 hard decks, First Blood at 4.33 king shit cops. So it is in the preeminent position. Yeah, number one. And equal first.
Deservedly so. I don't think that can be argued. We've done some absolutely banging films, but if it was a desert island and you had to take only half a dozen of these bad boys with you on DVD, then this one makes the cut for sure.
Absolutely. Look, good effort there. That's a great spot for it. Deserve it. Now, Morg, you watching anything this week?
Welcome to Wrexham. I'm just getting through, loving it, really enjoying it. Yeah, that's kept me. Other than that, it's been pretty busy on the land, so haven't had a chance to get into much else. What about you?
Yeah, look, I've gone old school. I've revisited a couple movies with my 8-year-old daughter, Belle. We watched. It's a bit of a Pauly Shore marathon.
Oh my god!
Going right back to the 90s.
So we watched
Son-in-Law.
Yeah,
we watched Son-in-Law first.
Yeah.
Which she absolutely loved.
Wow.
And then we watched Encino Man, which she liked.
No is in the Jaws.
No is in the Jaws. No is in the Jaws. No is in the Jaws. But Son-in-Law, she absolutely loved. She actually was in hysterical laughter at a couple scenes.
Pauly Shore definitely had a moment there back. I reckon
she had 5 minutes. 91 and 92. Yep. So 91 is Encino Man. No, it's 92 and 93. 92 is Encino Man. 93's Son-in-Law.
Yeah.
And they're good movies, man. I remember we absolutely were obsessed with Son-in-Law.
Encino Man. And yeah, we just love
Encino
them.
Man. Yeah, we did. But it was good to revisit them and good ones for the kids, actually. You'd be able to watch them with the girls.
Yeah,
they'll thoroughly enjoy it. We've actually done, Isabel and I have done a little podcast, the two of us, called Love It, Sort of Hate It. And we've spoken about Son-in-Law in one of the episodes, which we'll be releasing shortly.
Fantastic.
So stay tuned, watchers. You can support an 8-year-old girl in her dream to be just like her dad.
Wow. Who doesn't want to be
which is frightening.
That? Did you guys get through Baywatch? Did you get through all 2,000
We're still going.
episodes? No, still going.
Yeah, we've started season 3. We were up to episode 3, season 3.
Nice.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
Pamela Anderson has just joined the fray, so very excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sooner that Erica Eleniak moves out, because she's a pain in the ass, as Shawnee, she's high maintenance, and Eddie, you can do better.
Yes,
even though she's stunning, just not worth it, as we're finding out with Tom Brady. Sometimes the poontang just ain't worth it.
Yes. Good. I'm Team Giselle in that.
I'd be Team Giselle too, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, okay. Great episode, Dan. At short notice, I think we've done pretty well as a duo. We did miss our brother, the G-Man, and we're looking forward to having him back.
I don't want to know anything. He brings so much stats to this.
He does. It just wasn't the same.
I'm just the colour guy. I don't want to know about having to do any research. This is ridiculous.
We've both extended ourselves today. I think we've done ourselves proud, and we've done Gow proud, which is what matters the most. But we will have him back in the studio.
Oh, thank God.
This next episode. And we'll also have a special guest.
Oh.
Damo from Vicky Point is joining us again.
Excellent.
And what movie are we going to do for that episode, keeping along with Spooky October?
Well, coincidentally, I did watch it earlier this week, which is such a great coincidence. But I think we're going to visit 1995 with David Fincher, the auteur, bringing his absolute masterpiece, Seven, to the screens for us and for fellow F-wits. So, what an enjoyable experience that'll be for everyone. Go and check it out. Wow. Yeah, pretty disturbing, but worth a revisit.
Well, it's interesting because it's Fincher's second movie, Alien 3, which he lost total control of. And it's absolutely obvious that he said, fuck you guys, I'm doing it my way.
Absolutely.
And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm telling you what, if Silence of the Lambs changed the face of the thriller movie, Seven said, hold my beer.
It did.
And I'm going again.
Disturbing.
I'm very much looking forward to visiting with Detective Somerset and Detective Mills. And until next week, we shall see you on the line. And for me, it's bye for now.
See ya, F-Woo. It's been great. Duos suck. Can't wait to have the G-Man back.
Touche.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Born to Watch. To join us on our journey into some of our favourite movies of all time, you can find us on all good podcast networks like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star review and share with your friends.